flag set to go with strength agility, just because you know you're going to have to reach level 17, so that potential that the HP difference isn't going to matter as much. But we have just begun. So let's see what we have in these opening chests. Some fairy water, some wings, and you're going to see gold here. Now, because we have no magic keys, all of the chests that contain keys normally will contain gold instead, so we'll be seeing a lot of money in this seed.
Yeah, and they got the wings item in there, which oftentimes you would use that item to save your key, but we don't have keys here, so it's a little bit less useful in the start. Let's check out the treasury now. And notice how they all popped back up into the throne room to potentially start up a level 1 gold grind if they get lucky enough to pick up the chest in the right order, and I think I might have seen Erdrick's sword. They'll have to actually verify that it was, because that was a glitched chest in some cases. So it's often useful to actually check your status screen to see if you actually got the sword.
All 3 players had that one as one of their glitch chests too, so I believe it is just because of the number of items in their inventory that it would have had to be the sword. But
so if they take a swing at a slime and do like 1 or 2 damage, then we'll know it wasn't the sword. And there's also a whole bunch of really powerful armor and shields available in that nearby town. So we see an instant reset from Tyerenex as he is about to make sure that he does initiate the level 1 gold grind now. And he'll probably go up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 gold to try and acquire this silver shield and the magic armor right off the bat. So we could have some really well-equipped runners right away. We'll have to see how many of the runners ended up doing that, because the town is visible right away from Tantegel. So if you did check, anyone that checks that shop, you should be aware that that is an option, that you could grind up that money from the treasury as long as you pick the correct order in which you open the chest. If the gold chest is opened second to last or last, then that one could be opened over and over again. So see what happens. Sorry about that. I had to do a little bit of refreshing, but we do have Tyerenex setting up the gold grind on his screen. I see Jackimus going down to the magic old man there to do a little refreshing of MP, so I'm curious if maybe he's already on level 3. I couldn't catch it, and he is. And at level 3 you do learn the heal spell, so he probably went ahead and refreshed his magic so that you could take advantage of that heal spell going forward, and he's continuing to level up. Already up to level 4, I believe now, while Tyerenex continues his gold grind to get some equipment. And Rimmeldar's nearby on Lord of the Synth screen as well. There's one chest here, which could contain something useful, and it is the Fighter's Ring. So if he wants to go ahead and equip that, we'll have +2 for the Fighter's Ring.
And so it's very nice that we found in Breckenary there that we have both the silver shield and the magic armor. When you couple that with the Erdrick sword, Tyerenex is going to be very well geared after this.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that didn't look like Jackimus chose to go that route. He's just now getting to a shop in the town of Rimmelar and goes with the chainmail. He did not have a lot of extra gold to work with, so he didn't do the level 1 grind. I think some players just don't want to take a couple of minutes to do that when they could be out with the Urgic Sword slashing enemies. So it is going to be a fast seed one way or the other. Sometimes defensive equipment doesn't matter quite as much when you already have Urgic Sword, but look at all this swamp right around the castle as well. So they are going to have to take advantage of that heal spell that they pick up at level 3 just to get out of the immediate area. You can see on Jack's screen, directly to the east, there's not really much going on. So this could be one of those situations where it's a very small first continent with just Brockenary and Rimildar, and the basement of Tantegel might be the swamp cave to the other continent.
That seems like the likely result, as just based upon the way the game's logic works, is if the swamp cave is in the back of the castle, then you have to have Breckenary and Rimildar on the same continent as Tantegel, because you need a key to get back there by normal logic, and you need to be able to be decursed in case you need to go through there again. So
yeah, it's interesting that we have a no keys required seed, but I think all that other logic within randomizer just remains, the way it normally is. So it's funny that we have that situation here, but it looks like there's not much left on this continent, right? I think I don't know how much further south it goes beyond that one town to the southeast, but everything else I think I've seen already. And Jack is making his way towards that basement now, so I think he's fully explored the continent, because he got an earlier start on exploration than the others since he didn't do the grind. He was just leveling up with the Erdrick Sword in hand. So we're going to confirm right now if this is swamp, north or south. Looks like swamp north, so unfortunately they were, later on in the game they won't be able to use the outside spell to shortcut through here. They'll have to walk through every time. Outside, of course, not learned until level 12, so not too much of an issue either way. And strong enough to kill a wolf already on level 4 since they have Erdrick Sword. And he's going to use the heal spell in between.
Attack power to that.
Yeah, this oftentimes that can make for a pretty fast seed, actually, when you have the sword combined with some good stat gains and a little bit of leveling up, and of course they have the heal spell now to work with for in-between fights. One thing they don't have still, though, is very much HP. Looks like Jackimus still is in the mid-30s for max HP, and it does actually back into Garenham on the other side. So, potential to initiate a gold grind the regular way. And Jack still looks like he's not interested in that, so interesting. So he's decided to use some of that money that he has on items, and I assume he may check for some better armor. Or not. It's just gonna move on.
Yeah,
we are showing the silver shield, by the way, on Jack's screen, and I had missed that he had gotten that, so he's a little better equipped than I first thought. And Sharlock, yeah, right on the other side. So we have a lot of locations being found right off the bat.
As is Hawksness immediately south of that, so we at least know where one of the potential search spots is.
I'm surprised Tyerenex is the only one that bothered to grind just a little bit extra to get the magic armor. That does have some benefits. It reduces the hurt more damage from enemies by 1/3, and you get some small amount of heal walking as well. And it has a bit better defense rating than the chainmail or the half-plate that we see on the other runner screens, but I guess everything's a little bit of a give and take. It took a little bit longer for him to grind up the money for that, so... And there we see he didn't have enough hit points to withstand that hurt more from the ghost, unfortunately, even though he does have magic armor equipped. But back to the castle, and I expect he'll be making his way to the second continent momentarily as well. But here's the thing, like Jackimus just ran into an Axe Knight and he got sent back to the castle. So every time that happens now, you have to make the long walk all the way around the perimeter of Tantegel, and then you have to walk all the way from north to south through that swamp cave to continue your exploration. So in that situation, it's sort of prudent to do anything that you can to kind of make sure that you don't die, even more so than normal. It's a little bit of a time sink every time you die in a seed like this.
Yeah, just that walk all the way to the back of the castle is obnoxious enough, and then having to regain any ground you get once you get to the other side just exacerbates it that much more.
Yeah, and this walk through Swamp Cave, by the way, is not that easy. You see Demon Knights available, although Jackim is somehow able to actually defeat a Demon Knight on an early level, and he's got level 7 now, which gives the Sleep Spell, which will be a significant strategic advantage for the next few minutes.
It appears that he is in the tablet cave here.
Oh, I thought Jack was still making his way through from north to south through the Swamp Cave.
Oh, is that what it was?
He was just making his way around that little bend in the... Yeah. And he takes down a Magiwyvern as well, so that good use of the Sleep Spell, I believe, he used there. Yep, so that's where he was. So every time you can see it takes 2 or 3 minutes just to get back out on the map to explore further. And they're up on the north edge of the world once they get out of the Swamp Cave. That's where Sharlock is, and they'll have to explore south from here.
And Synth finds the grave.
Aha, so that's a good find since they don't have any quest items yet under their belt, even though they have opened about a third of the chests that are available on the overworld. But he finds some werewolves in the grave and unable to survive that hit. So yeah, in this early stage, I think the main challenge is that the hit point total just is remaining kind of low. You see on level 8 for Jack, we're finally up into the 50s at least, which is enough to
I just saw
withstand
Jack crit for 123 damage, which means that he has at least 123 attack power. That's insane for level 8.
On level 8, yeah. So, except for the hit points, we're getting ready for Dragon Lord eligible stats already. So this is a very fast seed situation. And that brings up another point, too, about this flag set. Sometimes it would take you a little while to figure out how to grind the last few levels, or just generally speaking, some of the Sharlock enemies would be fairly difficult to deal with because you don't have heal more or hurt more for basically the whole seed. But if you do have crazy amounts of attack power, I guess that just takes care of things, If you're at the point where you can like 3-shot a green dragon, then that solves some problems. This could be a very fast seed. It's going to be all about who can explore the map the fastest now.
Jack takes down another Demon Knight. So he's definitely been able to use that sleep spell, well, the sleep spell to good use with the Magiwyvern, and that attack power to good use with the Demon Knights to keep getting going up in the levels. This can really spiral at early levels, even though he's only a couple hundred ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It must have been level 8 that was a giant strength game, because you see on level 7 for Lord of the Synth, he's still at double-digit attack power. So he is going to be getting a very big boost once he gets off level 7 and up to level 8. That is incredible to have that kind of a gain early on in the race.
I mean, at this kind of attack power, you can 2-shot a lot of the late game enemies.
Well, and look at this. He didn't even die from that green dragon. He attacked with 20 hit points. And because he has some pretty good defensive equipment, and the dragon low-rolled him there. I was going to say that, he does have level 7, which gives the sleep spell. I thought he maybe would use the sleep spell on enemies like the green dragon, because it's not really a sure thing that you can out-hit it, even with all this attack power. But he went for it, and he was successful, so... And he's almost ready to do, guaranteed damage on this metal slime here. I'm not sure if he's quite at that level of strength yet, but it's close. And it does get away from him, unfortunately.
Tyerenex being able to take down a Demon Knight of his own, which allows him to get up to level 7. Lord of the Synth hit level 8 and is now going to be enjoying his newfound strength.
And Jackimus just takes down a werewolf, so even endgame enemies are no match right now for this attack power. He's just using that heal spell to heal all the way back up after these battles. That's what you have to do, because you can't really heal during battles against a strong enemy. You won't be able to out-heal the damage. So here's a red dragon. He is going to try and run from the red dragon. That's a little too early to try this. And unfortunately, their agility stat might still be lacking. Not able to get away from the red dragon, but made some good progress and is already into the middle levels, just 15 minutes into the race here.
Now, one of the interesting things about this flag set is that because you simply cannot defeat the Dragon Lord without heal more, you have to get to level 17. And so when you see early stat gains that are this insane, one of two things will happen. Either one, they'll just completely flatten out and it'll be like any other seed, or you can get the one more fun seed where the attack power keeps going up and then they get to take on the Dragon Lord with 160 attack power by the time they hit level 17. That'll be fun.
Yeah, there's actually some, strategy considerations where if you feel like you're going to be so over leveled like that, you might actually, pass on doing certain things that, you may not bother just buying herbs, for example, at the end, or you might, so they're a little like time savers where you're like 3 or 4 levels beyond what you really needed, and so, there's a lot of little things that are different about running this flag set. Tyerenex having another death. Again, every time you take that death, it's a really long walk back to continue your exploration. So you want to be aggressive and take on some high-value enemies, but you don't want to be restarting from the castle too often. So we're going to the bottom of the grave for Lord of the Synth as well for those bottom 2 chests. No quest items found yet.
And Jack did just hit level 10, which rocketed him up to 131 attack power, which does mean that he is now doing guaranteed damage to metal slime. So if he continues to find those when he gets around Charlock, that will work out well for him. He can't one-shot them quite yet, but he gets guaranteed hits. So if he can just keep them around for a couple of turns, he's got an easy 255 experience.
Yeah, that brings up another thing that that we ran into in a race earlier this week is if you do have one of those situations where you get all that attack power like you mentioned, but you still need to grind like an extra 2 or 3 levels to get to 17 at the end, one way to go might be to remember where there's a desert somewhere with those metal slimes, because now you're just one-shotting metal slimes for 255 each instead of doing the more traditional spike tile grind. So if you do see them popping up in the overworld in this flag set, it's good to really remember where they are. And level 10, of course, yielded the stop spell. Of course, it doesn't seem like that's going to be used very often in this seed. We haven't seen too many difficult enemies with the sleep spell at their disposal yet, and generally with all this attack power, you're just going to be slashing through enemies as fast as you can anyways. You can see the magic wyvern here, Jack not even bothering with the sleep spell against it, since it's only going to take 2 to 3 hits anyways to take it down, so it's just going with the fastest method possible, and then healing up in between. And Lord of the Synth, I'm not sure if he's made it to the chest yet. Well, it looks like he did make it to the first chest. I'm not sure what was in there. Oh, red dragons down in the bottom sections, though. It could be difficult to get to that very bottom chest. And if that happens to be one of the quest items, that is an interesting dilemma there. Remember, no heal more or hurt more to work with, so the more red dragons you find out there, the tougher these seeds become with this flag set. And when they are in the dungeons like that, you're going to have to go through a pretty long walk on that bottom section of the grave to get to that final 5th chest down there. And potentially multiple red dragon encounters on the way. So he is going to take that opportunity to do another gold grind coming out of the grave, and perhaps upgrading to the silver shield and the magic armor like Tyerenex has already. So heads up play for Lord of the Synth to take care of that while he can. And Jack is continuing to expand his experience lead while exploring the southern reaches of this map now. Level 11 already for Jack. And another death for Tyerenex, unfortunately, unable to outlast the Axe Knight. I feel like he's been on the wrong end of a handful of those battles, and he's just had to take this walk a few extra times all the way around Tanteagle and then all the way back through the Swamp Cave. So he's starting to fall a little bit behind with experience now. And there goes Lord of the Synth with Golden Hand up to the shops in Brockenary to get the big equipment. So we'll have some upgrades for him.
I mentioned earlier how things can kind of spiral out of control, and you're seeing that a lot with the experience lead that Jack's getting over Tyerenex. It's just spiraling further and further.
Yeah, Jack took a few risky encounters in that middle section when he was on level 6, 7, and 8, where he was fighting Demon Knights and Green Dragons, and he was able to outlast them. And that was kind of the key to just propel him forward, because now he's just becoming more and more invincible. As he gets more hit points with each level up here, it just makes it more easier to survive. It looked like he got 0 hit points with that level up there. So, that was unfortunate, but... What are we still in the mid-60s for his max? Because you could still get one-shot by a Dragon Lord Breath until you get up into the mid-70s for max hit points. That's probably the last remaining gotcha that could slow Jack down at this point. And he's got the Mountain Cave now.
And based upon everything else we found, the Mountain Cave's got to be where everything is. Unless there's the one spot at the bottom of the grave. I think we've hit that, or that and the tablet's all we have left.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing the Stones of Sunlight Cave either, but yeah, just these little singletons here and there. We've seen the one in Rimmildar, we saw the ones in Garenham and in Tanteagle. So yeah, we're going to see some quest items here, I'm sure. And there's the Stones of Sunlight for Jack. Absolutely.
And the harp.
Will we have the trifecta? Only the token remains.
And we will not find out right now.
So Jack has a similar dilemma that Lord of the Synth has, just an opposite dungeon. So Lord of the Synth unable to make it to the last chest of the grave. Jackimus has one chest outstanding in the Mountain Cave. And oftentimes runners will skip that for later because you don't want to retrace your steps as much as possible. Jack, though, has the advantage of having the 2 quest items that are guaranteed to be in chests already in hand now. So the token, in theory, could actually be on a search spot. We haven't seen too many search spot locations, but Tyerenex is going to take a shot at the first one here in Hawksness. He's at least going to see what the enemy is. And the Golem is one of the enemies, and especially Golems with Dragon Lord Breath. That is one that is going to be very difficult to deal with unless you find the flute somewhere else, for example. Because without Heal More for the whole seed, it's just very difficult to outlast that particular enemy. He's got a lot of hit points.
Yeah, at this point, you're really hoping that he is guarding the fairy. He's guarding the fairy flute instead, or that the fairy flute at least is not in a chest in Sharlock. We haven't seen any first belch yet, so we don't have any indication of whether or not we have extra search spots.
Yeah, absolutely. So from his perspective, I expect him to just continue exploring and to see if he can locate the town of Cole and possibly the town of Cantlin for the coordinates, and just take care of those things first to see if he can find the armor and possibly the token in those places, and not have to deal with the golem again. And if you really have to as a last resort, you're going to have to come back to the golem much later on at this point, and preferably with the flute in hand.
Ooh, the Star Wyverns have heal more. That makes and Dragonlord 2 Breath. That makes them not fun.
Yeah, so that was what I mentioned before, is that until you get those hit points up, you can't even survive one Dragonlord Breath attack, and anytime you just get whacked with one like that, it's another couple of minutes just to get back out onto the map because of all this walking they have to do. So, and fortunately, I have not seen Jack really run into that kind of a situation, so he's having a fortunate run, whereas Tyerenex is having a less fortunate run when it comes to those kind of encounters and just taking deaths as opposed to not taking deaths. So Jack, now with 2 quest items under his belt, is probably looking for those search spots now. You want to find the towns, the 3 towns that lead you to the search spots, of course: Hawksness, Cantlin, and Cole. I think Jack has not seen any of those at this point, so...
Well, Hawksness is just immediately south of Sharlock, so he's walked in and immediately noped out of that at this point, but the other 2 are still at large.
Yeah, and you wonder at what point Jack will check that out, because he's fairly strong now and he's up at level 12. Perhaps he's just waiting to die one time. I don't think he's died for a while. But if he does take a death, then he'll be right there next to Sharlock, coming out of there. Maybe he'll check it out at that time. So the token could be there. The armor, which is also required to finish the seed, that could be there. The armor, of course, guaranteed to be on one of those 3 search spots, whereas the token could also be in a chest. Although from our perspective, let's see, are there only 3 chests remaining? Stones of Sunlight Cave and the 2...
And Tablet Cave.
Oh, the Tablet Cave's out there too, okay. So we got 4 chests left. Death Necklace hasn't been found yet either. That doesn't seem like it's going to come into play as of right now. That's another one of those things with this flag set. You could make conscious decisions to not go out of your way to look for the Death Necklace because you already have all that attack power. And by level 17, you assume you're going to get even more. And just, even if you got hit points, it's just not going to be necessary to use the Death Necklace because you will already be over-leveled, most likely. So, for example, if it's known that the Death Necklace is in the Sharlock Treasury or something, you won't really see anybody going and looking for that in this case.
Tyerenex getting finally getting some fortune against a metal slime here, which is going to take him up to level 12. Allow him to make a little bit of ground up on the other 2.
Yeah, it's actually a fairly close race experience-wise now between he and LordoftheSynth. I think LordoftheSynth has a bit more exploration under his belt, having cleared most of the grave and traversing a pretty good amount of the overworld. And Jack is up over 3,000 experience points now, level 13. And he is way down in the southern reaches of the overworld. I feel like Jack has covered actually most of the world already. Hasn't taken hardly any deaths, so he's just making it further and further across the map. Still looking for those towns, though. Haven't seen Cantlin or Cole, I believe, right? So,
have we seen the Jerk or the Staff Cave either?
I don't remember seeing either of those. Tantegel and Garanham both had the Swamp Cave. So yeah, those will just be out on the map somewhere, and I don't think I've seen anybody bump into those either, so... Yeah,
well, there's somewhere hiding that's...
items, you'll need to find those old men eventually. Yeah, I'm just running down my list. I think we've seen everything else at this point. Just looking for Cole and Cantlin, and then Stones of Sunlight Cave, Tablet Cave, and the 2 Shrine Caves. Now, from Jack's perspective, I don't think he's found or at least he hasn't searched through the grave yet. And that's one of those situations where if it's really only the token that you need, you might choose to skip the grave for right now and just see if you can find those search spots first, you know? Because, you know, he already has the sword, and there's not a guarantee that the token is even in a chest anyways, so... And you're not necessarily even looking for the death necklace in a seed like this. So I would think that Jack would try and skip the grave, if he can. And just until he covers the rest of the map and looks for those towns. So Tyerenex now is in Mountain Cave, and he's going to try and make his way. He's on level 12, so he might have more success than Jack did getting to all 5 chests, so maybe we'll get to see what's in that last chest when he gets over to that side of the Mountain Cave.
He also has the magic armor, which means that he'll take a little less damage than Jack did, all the other things equal.
Yeah, I can't recall what was in here that eventually got Jack.
I think it was a werewolf.
But... Okay. Magic Wyvern goes down fairly easily for Tyerenex, and that's level 13 for him, so he's been making up some ground, actually. Not sure if he had a grind spot somewhere, or if Jack just hasn't been running into as many enemies that are useful, but Jack has lost ground on that experience lead. Now you see Lord of the Synth just 300 or 400 points behind, and Tyerenex not far behind that, so this is shaping up to be a competitive race again.
Yeah, it does seem like one of the key parts of Jack getting such good exploration here is that he hasn't had a whole lot of encounters as of late, which is really kind of hurting him or he's really making him lose that experience lead.
Yeah, this part of the world he seems to be finding a lot of skeletons and drakies and stuff. At this point, they don't have Repel, remember, until 15. So if you happen to find all those little enemies, it's not really helping your cause. And now he's kind of out of resources. So he might finally take that death against this green dragon, and that will put him back towards the region of Hawksness when he pops out of the Swamp Cave. So be curious to see if he takes this opportunity now to go find out that there's a golem with Dragon Lord Breath guarding the way. And even with all this attack power in level 13, I'm not so sure that the golem is beatable right now unless, you know, we don't have enough data and he actually, you know, casts Stop Spell 75% of the time or something, and he just happened to use Dragon Lord Breath that one time against Tyerenex. But, you know, unless something like that is happening, Jack probably still can't defeat that monster, but I think he's going to go take a look.
And the final item in the Mountain Cave is a torch.
Okay, so still no death necklace, no token. And we only have, I guess we're down to 3 treasure chests unexplored outside Charlock, and another 7 remaining in Charlock.
Unfortunately for our players, the longer we go, or the more treasure chests we open, the more likely it is that we may find the fairy flute in Charlock itself, which could make that Hawksness, whatever the Hawksness monster is guarding, very dicey.
And so if the worst case scenario is if the golem is guarding the token, which is what you need to get into Charlock, and then if the flute is in Charlock, we might be leveling up for a long time before we can even like defeat that golem. That would be the worst case scenario. That you'd have to get to 17 to have heal more, and even then, with that Dragon Lord breath, you know, once they find the armor, you'll take less damage from Dragon Lord breath. But still, yeah, that's a formidable enemy.
Meanwhile, Tyerenex has found the Stones of Sunlight cave, and it had an herb. So
here's an interesting thought, though, Tyerenex, or Tilo, for you. What if you have the situation where the armor is actually being guarded by the golem, but you can find the token somewhere else? Would you maybe go into Sharlock? Remember, we're dealing with short Sharlock. There's no barrier tiles. Consider going into Sharlock to look for the flute, and then come back to try and fight the golem, you know, for the armor.
Oh, I think you have to. For me, the bigger question is, do you try to grind to level 17? If the token is hiding behind in Hawksness, do you go ahead and try to grind to level 17 first, and then try to get the token and get everything after that, so you have heal more against the golem?
Yeah, I would think to beat this golem, you're going to need heal more, unless you find the flute. But Jack manages it, and what just happened here? How much damage did he take from? I wish I had seen that more closely, because I did not expect him to win that fight. Did he just get the armor?
He just got the armor, and threw all of our speculation out the window.
Jack is just living the dream on this run. That's like everything is going his way. That's fantastic. And it was a good piece of routing for him to just come back to that after taking the Death Warp. So now he's got that out of the way, armor in hand, but we still have to find that token for Jack. And it could be on one of the other search spots. So we might need to find the coordinates. Or, here's the town of Cole, actually, for Tyerenex. Let's see what's here. Aha! So Tyerenex now has the flute. So that gives him an idea of maybe what he can do to go back and fight that golem. A little bit of, you know, of an easier time maybe than Jack with the brute force method. So now the token is either on the map, in which case the old man in Cantlin would give you coordinates to go find it, or the old man would not give you coordinates. He'll just say, well, just, you know, have fun. Stones of Sunlight Cave, by the way, just has an herb, so now we're down to only the bottom chest in the grave. Or there's a chest still in the Tablet Cave, which for a second I thought Lord of the Synth was in Tablet, but there are no enemies in Tablet, so yeah, so there's those two chests, or if the old man does give coordinates, then it's guaranteed to be the token, because if it's not there, then he would not give coordinates. So from Jack's perspective, I feel like he really wants to find Cantlin to get that information. And that would save him a trip, for example, going back to that last chest that he missed in Mountain Cave, and he wouldn't have to explore the grave either. So he's looking around on the map for Cantlin at this point. And that experience lead is closing. Jack with less than a 300-point lead over Lord of the Synth. And Tyerenex not too far behind that, another 500 or so behind that. Shaping up to be a fairly close finish. And Tyerenex also has the harp and the stones at his disposal, along with Jack, so he's got a similar situation. He'll still need to fight that golem to get the armor. Probably the next time he dies, he'll take a crack at it now that he already has the flute. And Lord of the Synth is going to need to find and clear out the mountain cave in order to get those two quest items that the others already have. Is that the dungeon that he's in right now? Yes, he has the Stones of Sunlight. So Lord of the Synth is making his way through.
Jack has found the jerk. Unfortunately, without having found the token yet or the staff cave, not going to do a whole lot for him.
So yeah, what would happen if you talked to the old man and you did not have Erdrick's token in your inventory? I can't recall.
I believe that he very forcefully ejects you from his little living place.
Hence why he is called the Jerk. If you do not have Erdrick's token, he doesn't want anything to do with you. So the flute picked up now for Jack. He was hoping that that was the token. Now he knows that he's going to have to look around for Caitlin.
Tyerenex has come across the tablet cave, so let's see if he finds the token in here.
All right, and if he's at level 12, he can save himself a trip out with the outside spell, and he is. Unfortunately, it's not the token. But he does cast outside, saves, a little bit of walking. And here's a metal slime. He's already defeated one, and he just one-shot the metal slime right there. If it were me, I might just walk around in this desert right now and find some more metal slimes. This could be an interesting decision for him. I know he's still got a lot more to find. I guess he's just moving on now, but... one-shotting metal slimes, that is incredible.
That is one of the interesting decisions that this flag set has brought up, is because you pretty much know exactly where you need to get experience-wise, but you know you will have to get to level 17, you don't have the major risk of over-grinding early, and so it's less detrimental to stop and do a grind mid-game than it may be in the normal flag sets where you accidentally hit go mode and still haven't found all the exploration items you need.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oftentimes you're not in go mode with this flag set, because you do have to get to 17. Now we are on very fast level ups, so 17 isn't as much experience required. I think at about 8,000 experience total, they'll be on 17 with this flag set. But yeah, you're right. I think here, if you can do a quick, efficient mid-game grind somewhere in this flag set, it's pretty useful. Now Tyerenex noped out of the Stones Cave without checking the chest. Had he already been in there? And he was just double checking. Okay, so he was just double checking which cave that was. And he just noped out of it. Okay. And he's reached a dead end way up in the northwest corner of the map. So he'll have to find somewhere else to explore.
I feel like our runners have explored this whole map. I'm surprised that there's still so much left undiscovered.
Yeah, and it's funny when you see a location that no one's found, like the town of Caitlin. Where could that possibly be? So that was a dark cave Jack just popped in and back out. Was that the grave? And is he taking that strategy of just skipping the grave for right now? And he's already been in the Stones Cave, so he nopes out of there. So yeah, I feel like Jack now is starting to re-explore. Oh,
we found both of them right there.
It's right over here in the corner of the map. Easily missable. Yep, so we have the Shrine Cave, and we're going to have the town of Caitlin. And we see here, Tyerenex took another death, and again, it's a pretty long walk through. So that just slows him down each time this is happening to him. And we're about to see if the old man has coordinates. I think it has to be at this point, right? Unless nobody's gotten to the bottom of the grave. There is coordinates, so the token is on the map, and it's over 100 in one direction, so we may or may not see a princess rescue. Remember, the princess is just right here behind Tantegel Castle. It's not like it's too difficult to rescue her. Unless there's a golem guarding that tile. Let's see what Jack decides to do here.
Well, he did pick up the flute in Coles, so it wouldn't be that horrid. But I think Tyerenex is about to discover it himself.
Yeah, we got 108 East. That's the... Not enough characters to spell out the entire East when you have triple digits on the coordinates. It's always fun.
So we have an Axe Knight guarding Gwaelin, which Tyerenex is just going to stop right now and grind for a little while.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't have any abilities to be afraid of, that can't be too bad of an idea. You can heal up in between battles. That seems pretty reasonable. They have a ton of attack power, so you're two-shotting Axe Knights a lot of times in this situation.
Yeah, and especially for Tyerenex, who has been gotten the short end of the stick against a lot of these monsters, I'm sure he's happy to give himself a little bit of an edge for the rest of the exploration.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's, in theory, he's not that far behind. If he wants to do, at the end of this grind, a preemptive princess rescue, and then if he just happens to go in the right direction and finds Caitlyn, he's like right there with Jack all of a sudden. You know, he's going to have to go back and defeat that golem for the armor. But, because I feel like he's explored a lot less of the map than Jack has. But if he just goes the right way and finds Caitlyn, there's not really anything else, because all he needs is the token at this point as well. And we're only 45 minutes into this seed. We have still the potential for a really fast seed. I think Jack has an outside chance of going under an hour on this seed, because remember, Charlock only takes a minute or two to get through a short Charlock. And we already have the stats required to beat the Dragon Lord. We just have to get Heal More at level 17. And he's going to first make his way all the way to the east edge of the map, where the token is hiding.
Yeah, these runners are going to make short work of the Dragon Lord. That's a nice thing to see. When you're here to at least know, I don't have to worry about anything at end game. It's 8,000 experience and go.
Yeah, and I feel like Jack is going to basically get the 8,000 just kind of while he's running around here, or it's going to be pretty close. And it looks like Swamp Cave actually deposits you fairly close to where you need to be. You're already 92 to the east, I believe. You just have to go further south from here. So, meanwhile, he's taking a swipe at all these endgame enemies, 100 experience at a time or more for each of these that he's running into. He only needs, like you said, 8,000 total.
Tyerenex deciding he's ready to destroy a red dragon and get some revenge.
And with that Axe Knight grind, Tyerenex has basically caught up to Jack on experience. So he just needs to find Caitlyn as quickly as possible, and I don't think this is the right part of the map, unfortunately.
Yeah, though Jack definitely has an edge at this point. This is pretty close race, pretty exciting still 50 minutes in. Everybody within like 600 experience of each other.
Yeah, one thing, just the way it worked out, I don't believe Jack ever went into the Grieve. And so we saw LordoftheSynth spend a lot of time going through the Grieve, not quite making it to the bottom. And there was really nothing in there. So he fell a little bit behind from that. And other than that, Tyerenex took a few extra deaths, but he's done a nice job catching up. And this is actually going to be a pretty close finish. I think Jack is just going to collect the necessary items just a little bit faster than the others, and so then it'll come down to if he has a way of gaining the last bit of experience faster than normal. In a standard seed, typically you go to the spike tiles and it's a lot faster to grind that way than by walking around on the world, but I feel like they're running into a lot of good enemies on the overworld anyways.
Yeah, there's just in from what we've seen, you've got the Axe Knight in the Swamp Cave, which just seems to be a pretty good grind spot. But you also could sit there right in front of Sharlock, ready to go in and take out some metal slimes to finish it off, so that you can one-shot them.
The other thing with this flag set, again, you're already like really over-leveled, as we keep mentioning. You might want to just go right into Sharlock Castle and just go right onto the mini-boss and just take your last few fights on the mini-boss spike tile. You're not going to need to exit. You probably have lots of extra MP to spare in this situation when you're over-leveled. So go ahead and just get as close as you can. Grind it up right there on the mini-boss. So there's some slight strategy differences like that come into play with this flag set, especially with that short Sharlock. You could hop right over there and see what that mini-boss is pretty quick.
It is one of the things, just in practicing these League flag sets, that I found. I had never done short Sharlock before, and I always just thought, oh, it's just easier version of Sharlock. But it really does change the calculus that you do at the end of the game, in terms of now you've got a grindable enemy, you're more willing to bank on something being in the treasury at Sharlock, and of course there is the end of the game. You don't have to worry about resource management going down as much as you ordinarily would. So it definitely changes the way you have to look at endgame.
Yeah, like one of the first races we saw this week, we watched Game Boy play through this flag set where he never went to an item shop, because you just figure you don't necessarily need herbs in this seed. A lot of times in standard flags, you're approaching the Dragon Lord with very borderline statistics, so you're going to want those herbs for the Dragon Lord 1 fight, or to make your way down through the long Sharlock. But with this situation, you just might not even need herbs at all. And so his solution was to save time by just not ever going to an item shop. So there are strategy differences like that all along, which I find pretty refreshing, actually. Alright, so Jack is back at Tantegel, has visited the magic old man there to restore his MP, and token in hand, he got the drop. I missed him going and grabbing the rainbow drop, but he's on his way to Sharlock. It's right on the other side of the swamp cave here, so we are moments away. I think he's going to do exactly what I mentioned. He's going to go right into Sharlock and fight Sharlock enemies, which all give triple-digit experience for the most part anyways. And then, if he still needs a little bit, he'll just finish it up on the mini-boss tile. So meanwhile, I missed it, but Tyerenex apparently was able to get Erdrick's armor from the golem guarding Hawksness. May or may not have used the flute to his advantage there.
Yeah, the golem just snapped through the whole battle and was made getting the armor fairly easy for Tyerenex.
And LordoftheSynth has the flute, but has not yet tried that battle. But he is seemingly going for a princess rescue now. So I assume that he was able to get the coordinates. So that they're just a few steps behind Jack with all this errand running. He'll get the princess now, make his way over to that side of the map for the token, but he still needs to go back and pick up the armor. Tyerenex, I think, is still looking for Caitlin, so he is not going to be able to get the token without those coordinates. He's still looking around for that.
I'm not sure if Tyerenex has run across the Jerk Cave yet either, so the exploration is really going to kind of hurt him here at the end, even though he currently has the lead in experience.
So Jack is not doing what I thought he would do. He's actually decided to go back to the Axe Knight grind on his way through Swamp en route to Sharlock Castle. Just took a little detour here to go to the Axe Knight spike tile. That's also a very solid choice. I don't remember if there's any nearby towns if he's worried about, regaining some MP as soon as he reaches 17. I think with all this attack power, it's just not necessary. What he has right now, 74 MP, is more than enough. But he's not going to do what he typically does, which is to fight his way down through Sharlock. Looks like he's just going to get it right here on this Axe Knight and see where he stands after that. He's actually using that heal spell in between battles. Remember, they still don't have the Heal More spell until they get to 17. So he is maybe going to have to heal up somewhere before Sharlock now.
Of course, that depends upon just quite how much. I mean, it still can depend on how much strength they gain here, just in terms of whether or not it's a 10 or a 8 heal more fight or not. Because you definitely, I could do this, the Dragon Lord here with 8 heal mores, given how much strength they have.
Yeah, I think they're up in the realm of 150 attack power right now, right? So we'll take a look at those stats maybe as soon as he gets the level here, and see, you know, exactly what he needs for MP. You typically don't need to burn too much in Sharlock when it's a short Sharlock situation. You do have to walk all the way around that bottom floor, so it's not like you just go in and go straight into the Dragon Lord. If there are, you know, if there's something that could slow you down in Sharlock, then it could still be an issue, but... Alright, so we got those stats. Let's see what he's got. So yeah, 159 attack power. That's not even on my chart, by the way, so I'm actually not really sure how many heal mores you need. But I feel like you could probably get by with like 6 heal mores right now. Especially
my chart
with a
says
little bit of a chance for double attacks as well.
My chart says that with 8 swings, you have an 89% chance of victory. With 9 swings, you have a 99% chance. So I think he's probably in pretty good shape here.
So he may not have even had... I don't even know if he had to go back to heal up. Oh, I guess, wait, so I guess he didn't.
No, he
Wasn't
really
he
didn't
just
need to
back
go
in
back to
Tantegel? I thought he just went back to Tantegel just now, but he didn't stop to talk to the old man at the magic shop. He's still showing 59 MP right now, so maybe he just changed his mind. So he could always heal right here in Garenham. That's what he's going to do. Okay.
I think he cast outside, or he cast outside. I think he might have been thinking that outside was that Garenham was north instead of south.
Fair enough. So now he's healed up, en route to the Dragon Lord. And what do we have for MP? We have 101 MP. This Dragon Lord has no chance. Even the 59 MP that he was walking around with would have been enough. But he healed up just in case. Could always go up into that treasury and look for the death necklace. But no. Totally unnecessary in this seed.
And Jack with the hero run as well, getting through over half of Sharlock without an encounter.
He's got a legitimate chance to sub-hour this seed with how fast this Dragon Lord fight is going to be. It's going to be close. Do have a red dragon on the mini-boss, which he probably can 3-shot pretty reliably. And you do have heal more, so you might as well go ahead and burn one here. Well, he's going to burn some herbs instead. And here we go. Hold B. So I'm getting some slight buffering on my end, but I think he made very quick work of Dragon Lord 1. And what sort of damage is he doing to this poor Dragon Lord 2 right now when he's attacking? He's doing 24 damage with attacks right now. So you're right, about 8 swings and it's all over here. Oh, there's like a minimum roller approximately of 15. But it's only going to be a few turns. Can he sub-hour this seed? It's slipping away. Meanwhile, Lord of the Synth using that repel spell to try and make his way across the map. I didn't catch if he picked up the token. He may be looking now for the Rainbow Drop Cave. And let's see here. We're seeing some GGs in chat, and I have just seen it now. The final blow has been struck. Just over an hour this is going to be for a finish. Get your GGs out for JackimusWedge. What an excellent race that was. He's coming in to check out and acquire some accolades from the king and finish the seed. Well done.
And meanwhile, Tyerenex has finally come across Cantlin and the Staff Cave, so he should be able to finish off everything here in quick time. Although he will still have to go rescue the princess and find the token, so that may slow him down some.
Yeah, and he's actually going to get 17 even before he's ready to go. This is the way it played out. I do think the Axonite Grind was a good idea, but because it's just so much running around now to get this token and all that, he's going to end up with 17 before he's ready. So no need to do any further grinding. It's going to get the coordinates now. Write that down. And how about Lord of the Synth? Did he already get the token and he's looking now for the Rainbow Drop Cave? He's also very close to level 17 as well.
I'm not sure if he got the token yet or not. I know I just saw him use Gwaelin's Love a minute ago, so I'm suspicious that he has not. According to Centroid, no, he still needs the token. He just got the coordinates. So he rescued Gwaelin before getting the coordinates, I guess. And Tyerenex is on his way to rescue Gwaelin.
Alright, so Princess successfully rescued by Tyerenex, and it's a matter of outside and return to take her back to the castle, and she will assist with going triple digits to the east momentarily. Lord of the Synth taking on a red dragon to get very close to level 17, one decent enemy away from the required level. And this green dragon will do it. And if they weren't already pretty much invincible, acquiring the Heal More spell pretty much means that he will not be dying for the rest of his race. Thou hast acquired the spell. He's continuing to fight some of these enemies, red dragons, perhaps just feeling like it might just take too long to run away.
Yeah, their agility in the seed really isn't that good, so with the strength they have, they probably get away in fewer turns by fighting, swinging, than by running.
Yeah, still seems to be looking around. I think I missed what you had said earlier about it, but has he not located the Rainbow Drop Cave? Is that what's happening? Oh, he's honing in on the token now. Okay. Yeah, very close to the coordinates there. Okay. And then from there, he's going to have to go revisit the Rainbow Drop Cave. And Tyerenex now getting a read on how far away from the other side of Swamp Cave he needs to walk. So in the general area, just has to go a little bit south. So this is shaping up to be a pretty close race for second. They're both closing in on the token. Then they're both going to have to take a trip back to the Rainbow Drop Cave for that. And they're both already basically on level 17. As soon as Tyerenex finishes off this red dragon, they'll both have the required level. So whoever can just like walk around and get to the Dragon Lord the most efficiently is going to get it. As far as I understand, the winner gets 5 points for the league results, and second place is worth 3 points. So, you know, this close result between Tyerenex and Lord of the Synth will have implications for league standings. So we'll see who is going to get there first.
Yeah, I've got to just kind of give credit to our runners, because this map, just in trying to follow where everything is, this map has not been a kind one at all.
Yeah, I feel like Jackimus was just wandering around the overworld absolutely forever before he finally found Cantland, for example. It was a really sprawling, spread out map. And you know, because they were so powerful, he did manage to finish the seed in an hour, which is very fast. But yeah, you're right, the map was pretty nasty. And so Tyerenex is closing in on the token. It looks like Lord of the Synth has... And Lord of the Synth has just found it. So he's going to put that in his inventory. He looks like he has less than a 1 minute lead right now for second place. Tyerenex closing in on it now, very close.
Now, I do know at least one of them has found the Jerk Cave before this. I believe I saw Synth find it. I don't remember if I saw Tyerenex find it or not, but I would imagine that they've probably seen everywhere there is to see at this point.
Hello.
By the time they found the Cantland Staff Cave combo.
JackimusWedge, congratulations on first place in week 1 of the league.
Thank you.
So just right around an hour. So that was a pretty quick seed for you guys. It's always helpful to start with the sword, I suppose.
Yeah, and you know, having 120 attack at level 8's pretty good too.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Anything that you found interesting or challenging for this one?
Not really. The world map was really straightforward for the most part, except for that south area that was just completely devoid of anything. I was a little worried whenever I made probably the biggest bonehead play ever and cast outside once I hit 17 and got the entrances of the cave up. I thought that cost me the race, but I guess I won, so it's all good.
Yeah, I did notice that, but it didn't cost you too much time. It seemed like a lot of things went well for you along the way, so I think you took some pretty good battles on those middle levels like you talked about when you were at like 6, 7, and you know, when you did get that big boost up to 8, you were starting to take on Demon Knights and Green Dragons and just barely outlasting them. Whereas it looked like some of the other runners that attempted that were taking a few deaths, and anytime you died in this seed, it was a pretty long walk to get back to, you know, exploring the map, because you had to go all the way around Tanteagle and all the way back through Swamp Cave. So it seemed like you avoided those deaths in that stage of the game, and that propelled you forward.
Yeah, the main thing was to just treat every battle like a war of attrition. Just keep your health topped up. You can take 2 hits from most enemies, and you're going to knock them out in 2 or 3. So a couple of times it didn't work, but that's just the randomness of the game. Otherwise, it was pretty straightforward. It was fun.
And I had a little bit of buffering in the very beginning of the race, so I didn't see your exact strategy, but did you actually do a level 1 gold grind, or did you just go immediately to the map with the sword and start killing things? Because that's what it looked like to me, that you didn't bother taking the time to grind up because you wanted to just start using the sword to your advantage. But I may have missed when you got the silver shield, so I'm not so sure exactly how you started.
I started by just gambling on the treasury. He ended up being able to duplicate money, so I figured I'll go to 15k. Maybe there's a town nearby, and sure enough, silver shield's there. So at that point,
so you just went to 15. I got you.
Money-wise.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I missed. I didn't see that you had gone to 15 on that. And so you didn't bother with armor money. I saw that you bought the chainmail at one point, but I didn't see that you bought the silver shield earlier.
Yeah, the chainmail was just there, and I could afford it, so whatever. But you have this silver shield. Most of the time you're going to end up taking the armor. In these settings, you can get away without the armor. I did that a couple times in practice, actually, since Sherlock's so short. But
without Erdrick's armor?
Yeah.
For the Dragon Lord fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little dicey, but, well, in this seed, you probably would have been okay since your attack power was sky high anyway.
Yeah, and you had probably like 8 or 10 heal mores to spare or something. So yeah, anytime you take a Dragon Lord breath, you could heal up, and anytime he gives a physical, you could swing. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy one, so we'll see how horrible it is next week, I guess.
Yeah, do you run a lot of Chaos Seeds in your travels, or not really?
I mostly just kind of goof around like the odd weekend with Brian these days. I'm pretty busy, so I kind of know my way around it, but I kind of don't, so we'll see what happens. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to get some food into me while places are still open, so you folks have a fantastic night.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by. Congrats on the victory.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thanks. See you later, gentlemens.
Alright, and that was just in time for us to see the final approach of both of our runners within a minute of each other. Lord of the Synth made it through the mini-boss without incident. Tyerenex is halfway around. Nice close race between these two, as it turned out. Yeah, that actually is interesting. I had not ever thought of not getting Erdrick's armor, really, ever, But it is funny how, like you mentioned a few times earlier, that level 17, you're required to go to 17 no matter what. So if it's one of those seeds where you could have won at, level 12, and now you're just super overpowered at 17, that's actually kind of an interesting idea that you could actually win without the armor. I've not really ever seen that done, but it makes sense.
It does sound like a strat that if anybody was going to try it, it would be Jack.
Yeah, and, like in this one, it wasn't really that easy of a battle to get the armor, so... But at any rate, we now have dual Dragon Lord fights. I think Lord of the Synth is about to wrap it up here.
And get out your GGs for Lord of the Synth, having defeated the Dragon Lord. Official time of 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 22 seconds.
All right, and that is good for a second place finish in our week 1 league race here. So he'll get some league points for that. And parlay that into a week 2 chaos race. I guess we haven't talked too much about the overall league and how the fact that every week we're going to have totally different flag sets, including next week is going to be a variant of chaos mode. So stay tuned for that on all the Randomania networks. Should be a blast. All right, and Tyerenex has not bothered to finish up. He knows that he was the last of our 3 finishers here, so exited his race, and that is that. No official time for Tyerenex. curious if they want to pop in and say hi. Let's find out. So yeah, what do you think? Tilo, this was kind of as straightforward as it gets for the most part. It seems like there weren't any significant challenges. It's just that some runners seem to have better fortune than others just making their way through, but I can't remember too much significant challenges.
Anytime you get that much attack power and the Erdrick Sword that early, it definitely helps making stuff straightforward. Meanwhile, we have Lord of the Synth in chat. GG.
And perhaps unmute or push to talk.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Excellent. What a gross map.
That was a little bit of what Jack said. Jack said it was a straightforward map, but it was kind of large and devoid of locations in some places.
Just
a whole lot of empty space.
Yeah. There was, I mean, it was basically a straight line if you went exactly the right way. And thank God we had the sword to start off with, because that could have been like an hour of gatekeeping without the sword.
Yeah, since you had to go through that swamp cave every time you wanted to make progress, that swamp cave wasn't necessarily that easy to even walk through on the early levels, except you did have the sword, so it was sort of like you eventually you were able to sort of get through there okay.
Fortunately, I checked. I saw it was a swamp start, and so I'm like, okay, let's see how bad this is going to be. And then there are two towns right. So yeah, I mean, that was, you couldn't ask for a better start, honestly, with the swamp start. But yeah,
I think there was magic armor and silver shield right in that first town, right? So
yes, in Breckenridge.
You guys were all set right in the beginning. That was fantastic.
You know, I thought about just grinding it out with those two chests in the castle to begin with. I'm kind of wondering if Jackimus did that.
Yep, Jackimus was able to get it, I think, on the first try. He just happened to pick up the gold, in the right order, but he only went up to 15,000 and just got the shield. Was running around with the chainmail for a while. Tyerenex actually reset his game and did the grind about 2 or 3 minutes in to get all the best stuff. So, and then you just kind of went with the intermediate equipment for a little while. So it was kind of 3 different ways to go.
Yeah, that was interesting to hear that we each did sort of a different way. I thought about doing the slow grind, but I'm like, it takes time. And I mean, these flags, it's basically, whoever levels fastest is going to win. From what I've watched. So I figured with the sword, I was well positioned to just start exploring and pick up experience along the way.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because that's what I was kind of wondering when all that was happening in the beginning, is whether or not, even if you know that the equipment is there, since you have the sword, I'm not even sure that it's worth the 2 minutes to grind the money for the equipment when you could be, leveling up with very fast experience level ups to levels 5, 6, 7, like almost immediately when you have the sword. So
yeah,
interesting call there. If that was what you did, you just didn't bother with the gold and just went for it.
Yeah, that was my thinking. And that 2 minutes, I mean, the 2 minutes I could have spent grinding that gold. Well, I burned that when I got sniped by that golem just outside Cantlin.
Yeah, there was a few differences like that. I guess early on you had found the grave and you went down most of the way through, and just there's nothing really in the grave. I'm pretty sure Jack was able to save. He never went through there because of his routing. He just didn't need it. But there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, that's interesting because, well, I guess I was sort of heading south and tracing the coast, so I would have found the grave before I went over the bridge that led to pretty much everything, and then I explored a bunch of empty territory before that. But yeah, I mean, I got to grind reasonably fast off that grave once I died to the red dragon and just skip that bottom.
Yeah, I can't recall what else. What else came up? Did you have any trouble with the Hawksnest Guardian?
No,
That was
I actually.
another.
So what happened to that? Yeah, because the Golem, he does have Dragon Lord 2 breath, um, which I learned when he killed me with Dragon Lord 2 breath just outside. And that was when I went back and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to get Gwaelin even if there's no coordinates now. Because I have to walk back there to find if there's any coordinates at all. So I mean, I might as well grab Gwaelin. And then I stopped in. I put it off just because only having heal makes me kind of deprioritize Hawksness to an extent in case there's nothing there. So I went in late for the first time and found the Golem. And despite having to do some healing with the fairy flute and healing one heal at a time, I managed to take him down my first try.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering if I had missed a little bit of what was going on with that, but I saw that you had found the flute first, so I assumed that was helpful for that battle. I think Jack somehow managed to defeat it without the flute, and I'm not really sure how that happened.
That would be favorable RNG.
So, and that was the story, just generally speaking, too. I think Tyerenex had some issues where he just kept taking overworld deaths in situations where you guys weren't, just not able to outlast the enemies. They were dodging attacks and things like that. So, and what happened in that map was that you had to walk all the way around the castle and all the way back through Swamp Cave every time you died, right? So, dying was more of a time sink in this one than it would be otherwise. So that was a big factor as well.
And there were the Star Wyverns had DL2 breath, and there were dragons in a bunch of places. I think the only endgame enemy I didn't see all seed was the AK-47.
Yeah, I don't recall if I ever saw one of those actually, but yeah. So I can't recall if you're a big fan of Chaos. So what do you think about? You got next week. You got a Chaos seed coming up.
Well, I'm biased because I made the brackets in the Chaos tournament. I think it's fun. Some people point out that it is heavily RNG dependent on whether who gets the good experience enemy first has a huge. But that's just how it goes. I'm looking for it.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's cool that we're mixing it up every week right now. So everything will be fresh. All these races that are restreamed on these Randomania networks. It's going to be fun from week to week. All the different strategies involved. It seemed like from what I've seen this week, there's quite a lot of strategy changes, even just for this flag set, and so that's been kind of fun to watch people figure that out.
I actually thought about doing an HP MP build because you are grinding to 17 at a bare minimum anytime you're playing flags that have vanilla spell progression.
Yep, absolutely, and I've seen a couple of racers do things like that actually, and every once in a while you do have one of those where it would have been like an 18 or 19, if you were running standard flag. So in that case you would be at a disadvantage, but I would say like 80% of the time you're like over leveled by the time you get to 17. So that would be an interesting gamble just to have the extra MP to work with and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've never put it to the test, and I mean, by the time you hit 17 on this seed, I mean, DL2 was a pushover,
which is always fun to watch him just get slaughtered. But
yeah,
it's good stuff. So cool. I can't think of much else. What do you think, Tila? Shall we wrap it up?
I think so. It's getting late around over here on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, it's like 11:30 for you guys.
So, All right. So with that, I'll say GG again to you, Lord of the Synth, and
Thank
GG
you.
to our other runners, JackimusWedge, Tyerenex. Join us at 5 o'clock tomorrow on Randomania for the final match of this round between Tristal, Rye Guy, Will Wagner Music, and High Spirits. And then after that, we should be getting a draw for round 2, which will be Chaos. And if you have not seen Chaos, it is a very different animal than this. And it will be a treat to first enjoy. So on that note, for Up to and G, our restreamer CDN Prov, our tracker CyberDark86 and Centroid41. I'm Tilo, and good night.